Go ahead.
Just for starters, did you see the poll today that was released or about whether or not Calgarians approve the arena deal? It was a 50-50 split in terms of the deal and a bit of a discrepancy in terms of the length of time they had to look over the deal. Just your thoughts on that?
I actually have not seen the poll. I'm not surprised that we see that kind of a split. I would have thought maybe a little more skewed, but certainly that reflects what I've been hearing from the public. I think it's important to note that we've had over 4,300 submissions for people with their opinions, so I know what I'm doing tonight, doing a lot of reading on that, so I certainly feel that the public has had a ton of time to give us feedback. Not a ton of time, but a ton of opportunity to give us feedback.
The poll also says that about only 35% of people think that enough time's been given. And 60%, 5% are undecided, and 60% would like more time. What do you say to that?
The real question is, what are you going to do with the time? You know, if we extend it through the month of August, people will say, everyone was on holiday for the month of August. It's not that complex a deal to understand. You know, there's a one-page, really helpful graphic that shows where the money's coming from and where it's going. And I really want to know people's opinions on it. But I don't think that we need to have endless discussion and consultation. Like I said, 4,300 people, which is far more than I've ever seen before, have digested it enough to give us their opinion.
And have you read any of those so far? What's the overall?
No, that's tonight.
And just the thoughts on the fact that Farkas asked for the extension from the Flames, and that's all going to come down tomorrow at 1, so it could go one way or the other.
What's interesting about that is procedurally, that's actually very challenging because Council very clearly at our last meeting rejected the idea of having more consultations. So if you need more consultation, Council has to undo its previous decision. And in fact, there was a letter written to the city manager asking her to ask for more time, but that's actually in contravention of the direction that Council gave her. I know that sounds really weirdly procedural, but part of the work we do here has to be to make a decision and stick to it. And certainly that's something that we've had some challenges with over the last several months.
What incentive is there for the Flames to allow an extension?
You know, if I were them, I would be thinking about, you know, at what point do we want to ensure more public buy-in? Because it seems to me, and I haven't read those submissions yet, but certainly I've talked to a lot of people over the last week, and it seems to me that people are generally okay with the deal once they understand the deal, but they are a little bit upset about the timing. So my question is, if the timing had been different, would the opponents have found something else to peg on to be the thing that they're upset about?
One point of clarification. Why 1 p.m. tomorrow? Is that to give the Flames more time to respond, or are we just amping up the drama here for her answer to be revealed?
I'm remarkably zen right now about many, many things. No, it was simply because we didn't want that debate, which is likely to be a lengthy debate, to interfere with the rest of the agenda. So we wanted to make sure that we could get the other work done before we get there. So that's why it's a set time for tomorrow.
So to be clear, the council is not going to get the Flames answer until tomorrow.
Oh, that was your question. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking why it was on the agenda for 1 p.m. tomorrow.
No.
Oh, no, just because that's what it's on the agenda for. And so, you know, we got a lot of other work to do, so we'll see what happens.
But the answer will come also tomorrow.
That's correct.
So 5 p.m. is the deadline for people to submit today the feedback, or is it late tonight?
Let's go with 5 p.m. because somebody's got to read it. And certainly if people get late submissions in, they're not going to go into the ether. But if you want to be realistic about having a chance for your council member to see them all, get them in as soon as possible, please.
So at 4,300, did you say?
That's what I heard.
How unusual is that
Very unusual.
in your experience?
Very unusual. I don't think I've seen as many for any particular topic before.
So dead of summer, people are taking the opportunity.
Well, this is it, right? Not everyone's on vacation, and people who are on vacation have phones. And so if you're interested in this topic, people have really been taking an interest.
Is it because of the timelines you figure that's why you got the response? Because people are thinking, hey, I got to get this in, or it's not going to be counted?
Deadlines do tend to focus the mind.
How is it possible for council to digest that volume of feedback, essentially overnight?
That's an excellent question. Hopefully they got a chance to start looking at them over the weekend, but certainly I take this stuff very seriously. I try to read every page that is submitted to us, so that's going to be a fun evening.
So in your answer to the question about the Flames, if you were the Flames, would you opt for a delay or not a delay? You you started saying, it sounded like you were saying if you were them, you would go for a delay.
If I were them, I would consider all of my options because, of course, on the other side is the question that I raised last week, which is you do engagement if you really are open-minded about changes, or if you as a council member fundamentally don't know how you're going to vote. I am not convinced either of those criteria actually are in play for this. I got to go. Any questions on anything else?
How are you going to take in the feedback? Or is it going to be more deal or no deal, or is it, or let's say a lot of people want the deal, but they want changes in terms of this?
I'm always open-minded to interesting ideas. Certainly, I haven't heard people with a lot of amendments. They have an opinion, yes or no. All right.
I take your response to Councillor Chu's question this morning about my article about what you said.
I haven't even read your article yet. I know it's there,
You
but I've
kind
been
of
a little
summed it up,
busy.
but it relates to what the Flames might stand to gain out of this deal. Is that something that the public should know more about, and why isn't that more public yet? Like how much they might make off this?
How much can I say about this? One of the challenges that cities often face in negotiating with sports teams in this way is it's kind of a black box on the other side. So if I were considering providing a grant to a theater company for building a new theater, we would do an enormous amount of due diligence on their financial statements, make sure that they are capable of running the place and so on. When you're dealing with sports teams, it's much more complicated. They're privately owned companies. They're not usually very good about revealing their data. And so I know that council earlier on, not really council, but some of the negotiators earlier on, had hired some folks to do some economic forecasting to just get a sense of what might be possible there. I can also tell you that we have had very good conversations with the Flames in this last period, and I am very comfortable that the economic modeling that we are now using, which is not the same as what was used before, is fair and accurate.
But the public doesn't get to see any of that, so how do you justify spending public money when we don't know what's going on the other side?
It is frustrating, certainly, but ultimately it is a privately held corporation, and we cannot compel them to reveal their audited financial statements unless the owners want to do that. What I need to do is make sure that we are negotiating on behalf of the citizens with the best possible information, the best possible outcome.
So we have to trust you.